Well, in this video, I'll be reviewing The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. It's his latest release, and I was eyeing for this book from a long time. Like, it was announced earlier, but it was like published in the last month only. I believe it was 5th May. So I was eyeing for this book from so long, and I couldn't get a physical copy here in India. So I got a Kindle version. So I finally read it, and it's my first time reading any of John Gwynne's book. And I know you guys must be wondering, like, if I already own The Faithful and the Fallen series, why haven't you actually started it? So we'll be having a read along for the same, and that's why I took a little pause from this series. And series is always a long-term commitment. I know this series, like the Bloodsworn trilogy, I believe it's the name. So this is also a series, but there's just one book out there. So I've thought, let's read it first, then you will have to wait. I have to wait. But you'll be finding a read along announcement for this series real soon, and we'll be reading then. Hey guys, welcome back to my new video. I hope everyone's doing absolutely fine. For those new to my channel, I'm Divyam, and you will find book reviews, unboxings, vlogs, and a lot many other fun stuff related to books and fandom. So if you're in that kind of stuff, you can hit the subscribe button. And now let's start with this video. Now starting with the plot summary of this book, and it's a spoiler-free review. You can watch it without any worry. So let's start with the same. So this book is actually set in a kingdom called Vigrid. I just hope I'm pronouncing it right. Like there are so many names, so many places in this book that I'm not exactly sure if I'm pronouncing them right or not. And also Vigrid had a different kind of a D altogether. So this was the kingdom in which this book is set in, and the world is broken. All gods are dead in this book. So this book is through like 3 point of views: Elwar, Varg, and Orca. So these are the 3 characters, and I've heard too often like John Gwynne emphasizes on point of views a lot. Like he comes up with a lot many point of views, but it's the first time he went ahead with just 3 point of views. As I've said, the characters' name were Orca, Elwar, and Varg. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So these are the 3 characters. We'll be talking about each of these characters a little bit, and then we'll jump into the things I like from this book, the things I dislike from the book, and towards the end my rating. So let's start with the plot summary. Let's talk about each of these characters. We're now talking about the first character from this book, and the name is Orca. She is one of those characters who is fierce and ruthless at the same time, and I totally enjoyed her bits. Like, she was at start living away from civilization. She was living with her husband and her son, like Brekka. So this is their story, how their village starts like seeing a lot many dangerous things. They are already living with creatures and dangerous things amidst forest, but suddenly their children, their young population starts getting they're disappearing one by one, and that's the problem they are facing, and what happens when one of her own actually disappears. So that's her story. That's the first point of view we saw in this book. And the next comes Varg. He is sickened by his sister's death, and he's trying to find what happened to her. That's his story. At the very start, he's trying to like join Bloodsworn, and he's trying to prove himself like he can be worthy and all those things. So he's trying to like join Bloodsworn so that he can take help of magic to find what happened to her sister, and he can eventually take revenge that he want to take. So that's his story. That's the second character, and we see this book through his eyes, through Varg's eyes. So the final character in this book is Elwar, and she's the third character, third point of view given by the author to all of us. And she's one of those people who is a part of Battlegrim. Now Battlegrim is famous for all those adventures, famous for finding all those hidden treasures, unknown treasures, and all those things. They try to find creatures, they sell them, and they earn their livelihood. They earn their gold, silver coins. So that's their deal. That's the Bloodsworn. There's some kind of like pirates, you can say, because they travel in ship and they try to find all those treasures around. So that's their story. That's the third character, Elwar. We don't actually know about her past. We don't actually know what her deal is, and that what makes this book like even much better. So that's the 3 character from this book. Those were the 3 point of views. There are n number of other character in this book because it's fantasy, and we find a lot many characters in fantasy. So that's the deal. That's the 3 characters. That's the plot summary of this book. Well, now I'll be jumping into things I liked and disliked in a while, but before that I'll be sharing my initial thoughts about this book when I was reading this book, before I picked this book, and after finishing the same. So when I started reading this book, like before picking this author, I knew this author is writing books on the lines of Vikings, and a lot many people were like saying the books are inspired by Vikings theme. So I totally agree with the same. Like it was kind of on the similar lines, and I totally enjoyed this book. Like just 3 point of views, but it was totally worth it, because in high fantasy, in fantasy, you'll find too many point of views, too many characters, and there are too many characters in this book, but 3 point of views actually made it quite easy to understand and comprehend all those chapters, all those things that were happening in this book. There were a few things that I think will be discussed in the next books, like I'm not talking about ending and all those stuff, but a fine understanding of magic system and all those kind of things, I think were not quite said by the author, and he was like building up this book for the next ones. Like it was a setup, it was a perfect setup in my opinion. I think we'll be getting more details in the next installments, and we'll be waiting for that. Let's see when the author comes up with the next installment, but I'm totally geared up for the same, because the book was amazing, the story was amazing, it was weaved in a perfect way, and I'm looking forward to the next installment, and looking forward to the first book in physical format whenever I find the same in stock on Amazon. So let's jump onto the basic points, the things I discuss in my every other review. Like you can see my Way of Kings review or the Breach of Peace review, I always share those pointers, and we'll be doing the same now. So we'll be starting with the things I totally enjoyed and liked from this book. Well, one of the first things that I liked from this book is magic system. Now, I said the magic system is yet to be explored, and that's the total case in this book. Like I think it'll be explored in the further books, but still I totally enjoyed that magic system, because there were different kind of regions, and in those different kind of regions there were different kind of characters, and they had like different kind of a magic system. Like the name for the magic was different, but they were kind of doing similar kind of thing, and the author emphasized on culture on that segment, and I totally enjoyed it. Well, the second thing that I totally enjoyed reading in this book is creatures. Creatures are a part of fantasy books that too often we have seen it too often in other fantasy books, in other fantasy worlds, but here the thing that was different was like the author came up with something new, some new names, some new characters, some new creatures, and I totally enjoyed reading them. The explanation behind them was different, be it Tenure, be it Wysen. I just hope I'm pronouncing these names right, but those were different. And one thing that was different, totally different from any other fantasy book, was that these creatures were speaking human tongue, like they were speaking in human terms, they were speaking human terms, and humans were able to like understand their words, and totally enjoyed that segment, because that was kind of different, and I haven't actually seen it quite often in fantasy books. So I totally enjoyed reading those creatures. There were so many of them, and yeah, that was the second point. I totally loved and enjoyed reading those creatures. The third thing that I like from this book is twists and turns and intensity, and this will be one of my favorite points to discuss over here. So this book was like quite interesting. It had like a GOT level kind of stuff going around. Intensity and twists and turns in this book was like just amazing, and we didn't really find them in the first half too often, but the second half was amazing, and I totally loved and enjoyed reading it. There were so many intense moments, so many twists and turns, and it gave me like goosebumps from every now and then. I totally enjoyed reading those moments. I can't really speak about them in detail here because it's a spoiler-free review, but still, if I ever made like a spoilery kind of a review, it'll be a 20 minutes long video, because those were just amazing moments. They were like choreographed beautifully, and those characters, as I've said at the very start of this video, those were layered. So whenever that layer was unveiled, it totally blew my mind, and I totally enjoyed those moments. So twists and turns and intensity in this book is damn too high, and I totally enjoyed it. Well, the fourth point in this book that I totally loved is characterization. So I totally loved the writing style of this author. I totally loved the characters build up in this kind of a book. Like, it's my first by John Gwynne, but I can totally say that I'm buying his any other book as soon as I can, because he's one of my favorite authors now, and he actually built up those characters in a fun way, in a way that every fantasy fan wants to read, and totally enjoyed it. There was, as I've said, there was intensity in those characters, and there were emotional bits. Like, whenever characters feel emotional, I was feeling emotional at the same time. Their emotions felt like my emotions, and I felt like a little connected with all of those. And there was not just one character, one of my favorite characters from this book. There were many. I totally enjoyed this book, and I totally liked the same. Like, this author's fantasy quotient was quite different. The creatures, language, style, and the words he was using, because those were some kind of a different words. I don't really know what they are called, but the pronunciation, I'm totally sure that I totally messed up with the pronunciations throughout in this book, and I can't really blame myself for the same. Like, people were messing up Hermione Granger before the movie actually came out, so that's pretty fine on my end. But still, this was quite a fun journey. I don't have any other points other than we just have to wait for the next installment, and I don't really know when that will be. So I rated this book 5 stars out of 5, and I totally enjoyed reading it. If you're into fantasy, if you're into high fantasy, if you're into intense kind of books, like this book is having Game of Thrones kind of a violence, if you are comfortable reading all those things, then do pick it up. The twists and turns are amazing, the intensity is amazing, and I totally enjoyed reading this book. And I'm totally into John Gwynn's books now. I am ordering all those books he have written till now. I already have the Faithful and the Fallen series. You'll be finding all those details related to this read along in the next few days, maybe towards this weekend or maybe the month end. So yeah, that was all for this video, and I just hope you liked it. If you did, you can hit the like button, you can comment down below, and you can share this video with your friends and family. You can also subscribe to my channel if not done already. You can also hit the notification bell, and you can follow me over my social media handles. So you can share your feedback in the comments below. You can share if you have read this book, or if you are planning to read any of John Gwynn's books, or if you're like planning to join the Faithful and the Fallen read along. So that was all for this video. We'll be catching up real soon. Now I'll be more active on this channel, so we'll be meeting real soon. For now, that was all. Stay healthy, stay home, stay safe, and bye bye.